Today's episode is brought to you with the support of the Brain Collective in Harrogate. They're a brilliant team who specialise in helping people understand how their brains are functioning and how to optimise mental well-being. They work with everything from focus and sleep to stress and resilience, using gentle, non-invasive techniques like neurofeedback and brain mapping. What I love about it is that it's not about labels or diagnosis, it's about understanding your brain and what it needs to thrive. I've had the pleasure of speaking with people who've worked with them, and the feedback is always the same. They say they're supportive, empowering and eye-opening. So a big thank you to the Brain Collective for sponsoring this episode, and you can find out more about their work at thebraincollective.co.uk. Welcome to Happiness, Health, Relationships podcast. The podcast where small but powerful daily habits are your future self. I'm Angeline, your guide on this journey to cut through myths and misinformation on better health, deeper happiness and more aligned living through the 6 pillars of living medicine, which are stress management, nutrition, sleep, fitness, reducing addictive substances and healthy relationships. Each week, I interview experts in their field exploring real-life strategies, science-backed habits and soulful conversations to help you heal, grow and thrive. One day, one choice, one habit at a time. Because small daily habits are your future self, and your future starts now. Today, we've got a great guest, someone whose work blends deep emotional healing with the power of nature. I can't wait to get into this conversation with Laura Davis. She's an outdoor counsellor and therapist, and she supports clients through natural connection, mindful practices, and compassionate listening, all under the open sky. So I'm really looking forward to this type of therapy. It's not something that I've learned too much about, so I'm going to be learning loads today. Not only is Laura qualified, she's been working in private practice for about 12 years. She's also got her own healing journey, really, navigating her own journey through perimenopause. This makes this conversation very real and timely. So whether you're here for inspiration or support or just to feel not alone in this, really, you're in the right place. So welcome, Laura, first of all.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm so glad to have you with us today. So let's start off with, can you tell us how you work with clients in nature?
So different ways. The main one that you've mentioned is outdoor therapy. So that's something that I've been doing since 2019. But I also run nature connection groups, workshops. I also do the Wheel of the Year events. So we might go into a bit about what that is, but kind of broadly speaking, it's the solstices and the equinoxes. I have to run events for those and also do some corporate wellness events as well for stressed out employees of corporations that need to kind of refine themselves and reconnect with nature and what that brings.
Let's start off then by telling us a little bit about your journey into becoming an outdoor therapist. How did it come about?
So I did my counsellor training at Brighton University, and as part of that training, one of the lecturers, Martin Jordan, who is no longer with us in body, but his work carries on through a lot of outdoor therapy students. He did a lecture for us about outdoor therapy, and that was kind of what piqued my interest originally. And then after I qualified and practiced for a while, I felt like there was some other area that I wanted to move into and started being interested in outdoor therapy, and was in touch with him, and he signposted me to a colleague of his that runs an outdoor therapy training course for therapists. Taking Therapy Outdoors is the name of the course. And once I'd done that course, which was like an immersive weekend outside in nature, that was it. I was in. That was my journey.
Yeah. So it was that weekend that where you what was that, a personal experience where you realised that this was really aligned with you, or what was it about that weekend?
It was a group of other therapists that are trained in different ways that were interested in working outdoors and understanding more about what it was. And because it was an immersive weekend, so we were camping and staying in the hostel there for the whole weekend. We're outside for the majority of the time, apart from at night time when we were eating. So as a result, it's a real kind of deep dive into those kind of ideas. So it was really, yeah, it was wonderful. It's a wonderful course to do, but because it was with other people, so it was kind of taking the therapy that we already knew about and finding ways of including the outdoors as part of the work, which was really special way of doing things.
Absolutely. That sounds amazing, actually. So tell us a bit more about how that works. How do you work with people in nature? What did you learn that weekend in how to incorporate our surroundings, I suppose? What is it, the details of that?
Well, outdoor therapy is quite an umbrella term, I would say, for anyone working therapeutically outdoors. So you kind of learn and then find within it the way in which you want to work. So for some people, there can be what's kind of labeled walk and talk therapy, which is essentially kind of what it says on the tin, really, of walking and talking, but using nature in terms of an environment at which people are in. And so for some clients, that can be quite comfortable. They're not always so keen on the intensity of a room and intensity for the kind of eye-to-eye contact. Particularly clients that find it difficult to sit still and like to be able to move as a way of kind of processing what they're doing. So there's that kind of area. There's also kind of sitting outside with a client as you would in a room. So almost kind of choosing a space, taking chairs and sitting there. And again, there's benefits of being outside, which we'll probably get onto as a general thing. But that's a bit more similar. So you're not moving, you're sitting, but again, the environment is kind of containing the work that you're doing and as part of it. And then a kind of third, I suppose, level of that to some degree is incorporating nature as part of the work. So depending where you kind of sit within the practice, you see nature as a co-counselor. So things that happen around us will become part of the work as well. So for that, really, to kind of know where you fit into those different ideas is really about understanding your own connection with nature and understanding your relationship with it, because essentially what you bring and what the client brings and their relationship to nature informs the work and the way in which you work. So I have some clients that enjoy walking along, enjoy the environment and what comes with it, but aren't particularly aware of what else is going on around them that might be contributing to what's happening. I have other clients who are really firmly in their relationship with nature, and in fact their relationship with nature is almost closer than their relationship with me to some degree, and so they're very conscious of if something's happening. So if a dog walks past, what that might mean, if they notice certain trees, for example, what that kind of represents to them and how we then work with that. So it's quite, as I said, it's quite a broad term. It depends very much on how you work with it and how people want to work with it, I suppose. But there's lots of different ways of being able to do that.
I like the sound of that because, lots of people find it quite intimidating to turn up in a therapy room. So the fact that they can have that, like you say, sometimes less intimidating setting, some people might not like a confined space and all that sort of thing. So this is really opening up therapy, making it much more inclusive in that way. So that sounds brilliant, almost like trying to help them be at more ease, where they can explore what they're really experiencing and what they're struggling with and all that kind of thing.
And it also brings about, the the way that I work, I'm trained humanistically. So essentially the idea that people know what's best for them and that we're working together. And so the idea of kind of equality within the relationship is quite important in sort of humanistic kind of theory. And the great thing about working outdoors is it's not anybody's space. So somebody isn't coming into my space. In a room, it very much is set up like that. The client generally will wait outside and it's time you open the door, they came in, you have your session and then they leave. So working outside in that way, it doesn't belong to me. Between us, we kind of work with the space to see what it is, where they might want to go, for example, what they might want to do. But also it means they can come back to the space when I'm not there. So they're able to kind of revisit places. They're able to kind of bring other people if they want to that space. And I think that can kind of help a little bit with that kind of inequality that sometimes people might experience in coming for counselling. As much as we say it's an equal relationship, people don't always feel that way. So, being in an environment that evens us out, I think helps with that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That power imbalance, I guess, that sometimes the clients can feel, even, with the therapist trying to reduce that power imbalance. So client autonomy is what I'm hearing there as well. People are being able to choose more, what their surroundings, what everything means to them. And like you say, that neutral ground. I'm also thinking about, we know how trauma gets stuck in the body and anxiety gets stuck in the body. So if there is a little bit of movement there, albeit gentle movement, I'm imagining that can be helpful with processing trauma.
Yeah. And there's something about being really aware of working with what's presently there in that. So, for example, if a client is walking fast, we might draw attention to it. Okay, you're walking really fast as we're talking about this. I wonder what it is about this that's making you want to move. And what happens if we slow the body down? What happens as a result of that to the work? Does it slow things down? Does it speed it up? Are we trying to get somewhere? Are we not spending enough time in body?
Just a quick pause in the episode to let you know about something special. If you're enjoying these conversations, you'll love what's waiting for you over on the brand new Member Vaults page. You'll find free downloads, bonus podcast episodes, and a chance to explore my VIP club. A supportive space packed with exclusive resources. We'll have monthly Zoom sessions or online video sessions, and a private podcast feed just for members. So head over to angelineht.co.uk to dive in. So that's angelineht.co.uk. Everything's in one place and it's all made with you in mind. Okay, now back to the episode.
When you're working outside, you kind of have to be connected to body because the weather is the obvious thing. The weather really means that you do have to focus. Am I cold? Am I warm? Am I walking fast enough, slow enough? Do I want to sit? All of those things. Body kind of gets brought in, whether you want it to or not, almost. You have to pay attention to body. I would say body work can be different. So I suppose I want to be clear that I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm somebody that does body work, because I think that's another area that is maybe slightly different, but definitely movement and definitely being aware of that. Whereas, because if you're in a room, you can't pick up on those things because someone's just talking. You might notice in their voice shifts or speeds. But when you're moving, it's a much more obvious thing. And then we're working in that moment, what's happening right now as we're doing this.
Right.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, that's going to give you more information along those lines then, isn't it? Like you say, if somebody is moving quickly, is that the way that they're spending their days, which are in that heightened state of productivity, which, can cause overthinking and anxiety and sleepless nights because our body ends up holding a lot of tension and all that kind of thing. So I'm imagining that outdoor therapy would actually add a benefit there, really, to kind of, okay, well, let's see what it feels like to slow the body down a little bit, because that might be really uncomfortable for people to slow down a bit. I'm thinking perfectionists and people who feel that they've got to be productive all the time.
Yeah, definitely people that are quite goal orientated, because there can be a sense I experience sometimes with people that come for outdoor therapy, which is, right, we're going to walk to here and we're going to walk back again. And that's the idea of it, as opposed to necessarily being in the moment of what it's like to make that journey. It's all these things that kind of come out I'll say accidentally, that's probably not quite the word, but as a result of the work that you wouldn't necessarily be aware of unless you were actually with somebody and experiencing what it's like to be with them in that physical way.
You're teaching in a way, in a very practical, real life, mindfulness in a way, because people are being more mindful of their body, of their surroundings, being more present in the moment. So I guess it's like a live, we can talk about that in the therapy room, about mindfulness and help clients in that way. But what I'm hearing there is you've got an added layer. You've got an added benefit, I suppose, in that way for the people who are just going to engage better in that setting than and it's not that we're sort of saying that traditional indoor therapy, if you like, is less. It's just another option for other people. It's making it more inclusive for people that do find it difficult in that indoor setting, and also can bring in that physical presence, if you like.
Well, I was going to say at the beginning of your session, often I'll say to clients, like, let's take a moment and let's really focus on your body. Let's focus on your energy. Where do you want to go right now? That's always how we start. So physically, what's the journey you want to take before we start with the emotional? So, clients that know the area, do they want to go to the open field? Do they want to, walk up the hill? Do they want to stay on the path? There's lots of options for them. But even just doing that one small thing at the start really gets them to connect to and notice, okay, what do I need from this session? So there's something about them being able to practice asking for what they need. Again, as part of it that they may not be able to do, or maybe different, as you say, it's a difference. And I do still work indoors. Outdoor therapy isn't for everyone. For clients as well, there are some clients that do feel that need to be more contained in a space. But yeah, it just offers a different perspective as well. And options.
Yeah, absolutely. So inviting them really to really tune in to, which again, it's quite difficult for some people who are living life at 100 miles an hour in that productive mode, thinking that they've got to be someone or be something more. It's so common, isn't it, that people come to therapy and they don't feel good enough, or that somebody else is better or whatever. We live in that comparison world, don't we?
And that they find it hard to ask to have their needs met as well.
Yeah.
To even know what their needs are, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's an opportunity for that communication as well, to work on that communication. I like that. That sounds good.
And practice.
Yeah, something that can be quite alien for some people who have just kind of powered through, people pleasers as well. The ones that are always trying to make the other person okay. They just don't have the language to ask for what they need. They never think about that. They've learned, for whatever reason, to think about the other person all the time.
Yeah. And that plays out again, in the work, because if they want to go somewhere that's a bit more energetic, or if we're climbing through, like I say, we do stick to the path as well, but if I have clients that want to climb through the sort of undergrowth, how they look after me in that, actually. Is it okay to go here? And, and again, it's that working on, I've given permission for them to choose where they go, yet they still check in with me to make sure what they're doing is okay, because they don't want for me to feel ill towards them, or to, not be comfortable myself. And again, we can then work on that process. Why are you asking me if this is okay when we've already agreed that you're taking the lead today?
Oh, that could be quite uncomfortable. That's challenging for people, I guess.
It is. And I wouldn't, just to be clear, I went on day one. There's an element of, obviously, depending on our relationship, and, you need to keep that in mind as well, of course. But those are the kind of things that can be worked on, particularly longer term work, where people are more comfortable with challenge and more, and I'm more aware of their processes obviously when I first start with someone, I don't know quite what's underneath there that we're working with, as any of us do.
Yeah.
When we start with clients.
So as with the therapy that I do as well, I'm seeing alignment here, but very different ways in getting the information, in inviting the clients to express where they're at, what they're experiencing on a daily basis, how they're functioning in the world, how they're functioning in relationships, and what they're expecting for themselves, how they feel about themselves, and how they feel about others, and all, and how others they feel are treating them, and things like that. So what I'm hearing from you is that you're gaining all this information in a very physical way by, noticing what your clients are doing as they work their way through the woods or along the path, and, how they're interacting with the world. Really fascinating. It's how do you feel about it when you're with clients? What do you experience? Does it help you feel closer and help you feel that you're able to empathize more and all those types of things that in your way of practicing, I guess, I'm hearing that it aligns with you.
It feels more congruent, I think. I suppose that's what I come to. There's a more kind of genuineness in it, I think, because, as we all know, head can get in the way and give the answers that you think somebody wants to hear, whereas body and movement and being in nature, people are just responding in the moment. So as a result of that, I'm responding to them in the moment. So it feels different. It feels like there's a kind of, feels like we get to the nub of things, or I feel closer to clients quicker, I would say, as a result, because of there being so much information there. I mean, for me, because of the way my relationship is with nature and how I kind of view it, I find it a really comforting place to be part of. So I think what I notice about the way that I practice outside is I feel a bit less pressure, I think, to do, and as counselors and therapists, we hold the doing and being in kind of different measures about how directive am I and how much do I need to do here. But I think because I hold the sort of theory that nature is a co-counsellor within the work, it doesn't feel fully like on my shoulders. That might sound an odd thing to say, but it feels like there's more going on, actually, that a client's benefiting from, rather than it just being me, the human, working alongside them too. So I feel less pressure, I think, is what I'm trying to say, being outside.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, it, obviously it depends slightly on the client and what's happening, but yeah, I feel less pressure.
I get you.
That way.
That's the end of part 1 in our 3-part series with Laura Davis. I've loved hearing how nature can be a powerful companion in our therapeutic journeys. Can't wait to get into more of this next week, so join us again for part 2 next week.